Madelyn Russ, and I'm the Executive Director of Open Hearts Place in Morganton, North Carolina. Basically, it's twofold. We want to provide a safe, clean, stable environment, basically a home for a family to live, up to 3 years. And during those 3 years while they're with us, we want to help them become more self-sufficient financially, but just more self-supported as opposed to depending on society. And that could involve further education, a lot of financial education, a lot of erasement of debt, working on credit scores so that hopefully when they leave us, they'll move on to home ownership. Our focus is on families, and to even be considered for our program, you have to be low or very low income. You have to have minor children in your home. You have to one day want to own your own home, and at least one adult in the home has to have a full-time job or the equivalent to a full-time job, maybe 2 or 3 part-time jobs. But we like for everybody to be working, but it just even to get in the program, at least one adult has to be working. Kind of where we have come from. In 2009, our pastor, Alan Bullock, had a vision for our church, and that was to build a community center at a Campus B. And there was a lady that had just returned to the church that grew up in the church and had retired back here. She had had a bakery. She was a baker. Alan was a baker. And so she said that we can buy the land, we can raise enough money to purchase the property, make yearly payments if we start a bakery. And so we did. And like I say, we couldn't have gotten it started if it hadn't been for Alan, and the lady's name is Ophelia Hart. And so the church did not buy into his vision. They were afraid that we were going to abandon this campus and move out to Campus B, which his vision was to maintain both. But anyway, we started the bakery, and at that time, probably after about a year or so, we had about 52 volunteers. Well, being United Methodist, pastors come and go, and so the next pastor, her background was nonprofit. So she started bringing in consultants to look at the bakery, see how we could improve, what we could change, how we could get better. And one of the consultants was Alan Rice, which a lot of United Methodist people know, Alan. And I can still picture sitting at this table, and he said, ask us, how many volunteers do we have? And we told him, and he said, well, how many paid employees do you have? And we proudly said none. And he said, if you don't hire people, you will not sustain. Thank goodness we listened. And so within a very short time, we started hiring people. So at first, we were just trying to help with emergency needs, whoever came and maybe needed a little bit of help with rent or whatever. But we very quickly realized that we were going to continue to help the same people with the same problems. Unless something changed in their life, they were going to need money this month for rent, just like they were next month, and on and on. So we pretty much changed our goals to 2. One was the money that we generated was going to be used to pay people. And each year we hire about 6 to 8 part-time employees, typically either employment and or economically challenged, which the two kind of go hand in hand. So, and we still use volunteers. Even today, when we hire, like I say, 6 to 8, we still have about 3 volunteer bakers. And of course, during COVID, we would have never survived if it hadn't been for the paid employees. That was the first part of our goal. The second part is to put the money back into Burke County. And so what we started doing was making donations to existing organizations because they had the infrastructure, like Burke United Christian Ministries, like Options, like the Meeting Place. We go to the farmers markets, so the bakery goes to Hickory, Shelby, and Morganton. So every once in a while, we'll support missions in those counties. We've also sent people on mission trips. We've helped buy cars. We've helped buy scooters. We bought a wheelchair for a gentleman, the young guy that was going to Western Piedmont. So, I mean, we try to do things that are going to change a life in some way, not just emergency needs. Well, as time went on, our employees were making great progress because the idea is that they stay with us for a season and then they fly away. Some do and some don't. And in fact, we've had people that have stayed with us 2 or 3 years. What we perceive of the solution a lot of times changes once you work with people day in and day out. So we were becoming their support system, and we learned that they had nowhere to go after they left us. Now, at that time, we weren't doing anything with housing, but yet we learned that now that they were getting their life back together, like one lady needed to leave options where she was staying and there was nowhere for her to go. So that's kind of when we stumbled upon, of course, we probably stumbled upon listening to what God was trying to tell us. We kind of had a vision that that's what he wanted us to move on to do some type of housing. So at that time, my husband and I and our pastor, who, again, a different United Methodist pastor this time, it was Elaine Hall, we kind of sat down and brainstormed with a couple other people, community people that were interested in housing, and realized that there was a tremendous need. This was like in 2019. So by then, the housing shortage was already full blown. We just heard about it. And so we decided that we were going to do housing, that we were going to start providing some housing. But the group that we really wanted to target were the families, first of all, because we wanted to change 2 generations at a time. So families that had adults that were really doing a lot of the right things, they were working, they were, showing up, they were doing things for the family, but they just couldn't take that next step. And so that's when we created Open Hearts Place, and St. Matthew's United Methodist Church, which is where the bakery is, they donated an acre of land to us, which was a big give because we are a small church, landlocked within the city limits of Morganton. And so, granted, this was not a prime piece of property, but it was an acre of land inside the city limits. And I remember the day we first presented this to the church, we felt so strongly that I stood there and explained what we wanted to do and what was our ask. And I could tell by the faces that, I don't know about this. And finally, I don't know why I said this, but I said, this is going to happen. I hope you will buy into it and support it, but it's going to happen. We felt so strongly about it. And so in January of 2020, we created our separate nonprofit. I say our own nonprofit, but a separate nonprofit, a 501c3, because we joke about the church did not want to be in the rental business, which now that we're in the rental business, I understand why the church did not want to be in the rental business. But anyway, the property is in our name. The United Methodist Conference was all in favor of it, and we started raising money. And we raised about $460,000 and built 3 small homes. They're not tiny, but they are what you call intermediate housing, not transitional. We're not trying to bring someone from homelessness, to a permanent home, but we're trying to provide a place for people that are either coming from family, they're living with family, or from a place that is not decent to live in, or it's too expensive, or it's not safe, or whatever, to a nice, clean, safe place to live for up to 3 years while we work with them, again, on their finances, their education, or whatever it may be. So we built 2 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes right at 1,100 square feet, which is tight. And then we built one that's 650 square feet, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And we got about 40 applications and narrowed it down to 5, and with a definite point system. Interviewed the 5, our board of directors interviewed them, and we narrowed it down to our 3. So right now we have 4 adults. We have a lady and her little boy in the small house. We have a lady and her 3 girls in what we call the blue house, because it is blue. And then we have a husband and wife with 3 girls in the other house. And we just celebrated our year anniversary of them living there this past March. So we've been at it a year. a lot of things come to my mind when I think about why we did it, should you do it. A couple of things, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. The biggest thing is to do something. Stop sitting there praying about it. I'm not saying not to pray about it, but just do something. And if it's not God's will, He will very quickly let you know. I would much rather have failed at 5 things than not to ever try. Because no matter what, you're going to make progress. And as Christians, and this is whether you're part of a church or not, we are commanded to take care of each other. We are to do for our neighbor. And this, it reminds me, I read a book, it's called The Book of Joy, that I would highly recommend to anyone. And it's basically Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. And it's a guy that's interviewing the two of them. Well, Archbishop Desmond Tutu interprets the scripture where it talks about what's the greatest commandment? Love God and love your neighbor. He interprets that as not just loving your neighbor, but wanting for your neighbor what you have. And that's where we were coming from. I want our families to have what my children and my grandchildren, maybe not in monetary value, but the opportunity. And anybody that doesn't think that people are born with better options are kidding themselves. And so as Christians, we have got to change with the times. I was talking to somebody recently, and they talked about 60 years ago, there were boarding houses to where if somebody came to town and there was nowhere to stay, they could go and pay $1 or $2 a night and at least get a meal and a bed to stay in. That's no more. We don't have that. So for us to still act like somebody else or something is going to take care of each other, we're wrong. And those of us that care about our community, this is Burke County. Those of us that care about Burke County, we can't be any better than our weakest individuals. And when I say weak, I'm just talking about those that are experiencing some really volatile times in their life. So as a community, when we turn our back on people that have no good options, or whether it be because of addiction or, half the United States is a paycheck away from losing their home. So we're not talking about those people unless we're going to include probably some of our family members or our neighbors or me or even us. But I just think that we're kidding ourselves if we don't think it's our responsibility to help take care of each other. And what better way to show God's love than to show it to another person? Open Hearts Place, we are faith-based, but we don't preach. We encourage them to come to our church or any church. But I hope that they feel our love. And when somebody says, anytime anybody asks anybody on our board or anybody has anything to do with Open Hearts Place, why do you do it? It's because God loves us, and because of that, we love you. And we want you to see God's love through us, trying to provide these opportunities. We have learned, I'll go back just a little bit, in that the housing is important because all statistics say that children function better in an existing neighborhood and also in a home that is stable. You can look at a child that goes to 2 or 3 different schools in 1 year because of their housing, and they're losing in every aspect of their life. And so the housing is an important component. But the biggest part of Open Hearts Place is the programming. And we have a part-time case manager that helps them develop a personal development plan. We have what we call allies that work with our families weekly. They meet with our families, sometimes in our facility at church, sometimes in their homes, because we want to get into their environment and see how things are going on at home. And we work with their finances. If there's any type of addiction issues or anything like that, we want to address that. If we can help them enroll at the local community college, but just whatever their needs are, we want to try to help them excel in the areas that they need extra help. And we want to walk with them. Open Hearts Place doesn't end in 3 years. It's in our strategic planning that we check in with them after a month, after 6 months, on and on, just to be sure things are going well. Because a lot of times people wear out their friends and family, and that's why we want to continue to be with them. We're continuously working on our network because we know that we can't be everything to everyone. Right now, we are looking for a therapist because one of our adults needs to be empowered. You know, we can't provide for her, you know, what she needs. So we are looking for a therapist, but we do have a doctor that has agreed anytime someone might need, you know, some type of medical care. Now, all of our families do have Medicaid for children. They all have that, and we have a doctor that will do that at no charge. We have had career counselor come from Western Piedmont, you know, to talk about what Western Piedmont offers. We've had Habitat come and talk to us, a banker. We want a financial advisor to come. Again, our families are not ready to invest money, but the idea that maybe they do have $5 a month for each child that they could set aside. You know, we just want to broaden their thinking so that they're not limited to what they know, because you don't know what you don't know because you don't know. And that's what we're just trying to do, is broaden their whole spectrum of agencies and information. Yes, we just celebrated our first year anniversary with Phase 1, our families in the homes. We have been raising money for Phase 2, which we will break ground tentatively in June. We lack just a little bit more money to raise to have met our budget, which our budget's right at about $700,000. So we are down to about $25,000. So, which in the whole scheme of things is nothing. You know, I never thought I'd say $25,000 is nothing, but in the whole scheme of things. So, and that is one thing that from the beginning, I don't worry about money. Now, I may wake up in the middle of the night and have to pray myself back to sleep on a lot of stuff, but it's not the money. So we intend to break ground on 3 more houses near Mole Elementary, which this is out in the county. And so we will advertise very heavily in that area, because not that an applicant would have to live in that area, but if there's someone with their children already going to Mole Elementary that could benefit from the program, that'd be a big plus for them. But we will build 3 houses. Again, this time we're going to build 3 3-bedroom, 2-bath, because we don't want to be limited, you know, with a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And then Phase 3 is already in the works. Which this is something that we never dreamed of. We have found 45 acres in Burke County, and it is right on the edge of the city limits of Morganton, and they said they will be glad to annex it in. So right now we are working with the city and the county, funders, contractors. There's groups all over Burke County that have been working on housing, and we're trying to bring all that together to do this development. And we think, we haven't got the definite plans yet, but we hope to do about between 120 and 150 units. Some of them will be houses, and what the plan is, Open Hearts Place will purchase the property. Habitat wants about 10 homes. Open Hearts Place wants 10 to 15 homes. We may do some multi-family units to rent, which that will be a total separate, not Open Hearts Place, and the rest will be sold as first-time homeowners, as starter homes. And so they all will be more on the small side, not as small as Open Hearts Place, but we're also not building market rate homes that's going to sell for $350,000, $400,000. That's not the idea with this development. This development is for our workforce families, like nurses and firefighters and teachers, people that are doing everything right. They are self-sufficient. It's just there's no homes available for around 200,000 in Burke County, or maybe I should say very few. But that way they come in and they purchase their own home. It's their opportunity to build wealth, just like the families that are in Open Hearts Place. I would love for one of our families, or maybe more of them, to move from Open Hearts Place to this new development. But it's going to have a playground, some walking trails. We want to make it really, really nice. And so it's, we hope, I'll say this, the people on my board say I'm crazy, but I'm the eternal optimist. But I'm hoping within the next 12 to 15 months, we will break ground on the infrastructure, roads, sewer, all that. And then eventually start houses. And that was not our plan. But everything is falling into place. We don't have the money yet. That's no problem. But we have some incredible partners already at the table that just wanted, they've been thinking and planning, but couldn't do it on their own. And so that's our goal right now, is just to bring all these people together to help make it happen.
You referred to some, so can you review some of the partners involved in that 45 acres?
Sure. Well, the city of Morganton is very for this. The new county manager, Brian Epley, is very innovative. We are very excited about him. We're supposed to actually have a meeting later this month. The Western Piedmont Council of Government in Hickory, that is HUD money. They are very interested in being a part of it. We are trying to work with the Dogwood Wellness Trust in Asheville. They are very much, one of their strategic, points, I guess, is housing. And so we're hoping to involve them. They're not at the table yet, but we have applied for money, so we will see about that. Like I said, Habitat. We have some funders here that have been very generous with Open Hearts Place already, like the Community Foundation of Burke County, the Ralston Family Foundation, the Huffman Cornwall Foundation, Grace Episcopal Church has been very generous. First United Methodist Church of Morganton has been generous. Salem United Methodist has been generous. Of course, our church has been generous in a lot of ways. And then there are just some individuals that I probably can't name that just have been extremely generous. Yes. Since I last saw you, there's been a lot happening with Open Hearts Place. In about, I guess, May of this year, 2024, we moved actually 4 new families in. One of our families from phase 1 left. So we completed 3 more houses out near Mole Elementary School. And so we moved in 4 new families. Also in June, we hired a full-time case manager, which is amazing, and we're actually calling her our program director because she's helping us develop our program. So that was the completion of phase 2. Now, phase 3 has got 2 parts. We're in the process of purchasing 45 acres toward the western end of Burke County. We hope to do some multifamily units, but also some individual homes, workforce, and senior. But the thing that's going to happen first, which is so amazing, is a developer who had pretty much said he'd made enough and he wanted to give back, was looking for a nonprofit to work with, and he chose us. So he has given us 6 acres in Hildebrand that is sewer and water ready. He's already designed it. It is in the final stages of approval by the town of Hildebrand. They've been great to work with. And so we're going to build 44 units in Hildebrand. Again, workforce, senior housing. These units will be to sell. Open Hearts Place will do 3 more for our families, but the other ones we will sell at affordable prices. Burke County is 99+% full. There is no available housing in Burke County for less than $400,000. So we are extremely excited. All this noise is we're having a Fish Friday night raising money. We've been blessed, and we are so excited about what's to come in our future.